Hello, geometry students. Just wanted to give you a little helper on using Trig to find a side. That's one of your distance learning reviews. Notice that some of you are having a little bit of trouble with this, so let me do a couple quick problems and refresh this with you. I'm sure if you watch this, that this will come back to you rather quickly. So let's take a look at an example here. If we have a triangle that is a right triangle, and we're given that this angle here is 59 degrees, and the length of this side is 7.4, and we're looking to find this length over there. What we're going to use is our trig ratios. Okay? So remember the steps for this. First of all, we're going to write so, ka, TOA at the top of our paper. Next thing, we're going to identify the angle that we know. In this case, it's this angle here of 59 degrees. Next, we're going to look at the side of the triangle that we know the length of, and that's this side here. That side is adjacent to that angle. It's right next to that angle. Next, we're going to identify the side of the triangle that we want to find, and that's the one that's directly opposite of this angle, the x. That means that this is O for opposite. Given that we have O and A, our next step is to choose which trig ratio we're going to use. And in this case, it's going to be our tangent. So, in order to find the length of that side, we're going to use TOA, or tangent. Tangent of the given angle, 59 degrees, equals opposite over adjacent. Opposite is the x, the adjacent is the 7.4. We're going to write this as a ratio to use our middle school math of cross multiplying and dividing. In this case, it'll be x times 1, or just x, equals 7.4 times the tangent of 59 degrees. Next, we're going to go to our calculator. I'm using this calculator. You can also do this on Desmos. So clear that out of the way. First thing you want to do if you have your calculator is make sure you're in the correct mode. Mine is set up in radians. I need to go to degrees. If you've changed your calculator since we've used this, or the battery is run down, it will automatically go to radians. You want to make sure that it's in degrees, because that's the measure of 59 degrees that we're using in this trig ratio. So you can see this is going to be a multiplication problem. Let me get out of this. This will be 7.5 times the tangent button is right here, of 7.4. Press enter, and we get a, oops, I put my numbers in there incorrectly. Let me fix that for you. Sorry about that. So this should have been my angle of 59 degrees. So again, 7.4 is the length times the tangent of 59, and then we get x equals 12.315668817. Now, I'm not going to put all of those numbers in my answer on Delta Math. In this case, it's asking us to round to the nearest tenth. Tenth is the first number to the right of our decimal. In order to do this rounding, we're going to look at the next number over, which is the 1. 1 is less than 5, so our final answer will be x equals 12.3. So hopefully you remember this process that we've been using in with our trig ratios, and that is the SOHCAHTOA. So would stand for the sine, and we would use our sine button. Ka is for cosine, and that we would use our cosine button. And we have a tangent here, a tangent button for this problem that we're doing. Okay? Let me do another one for you. Not all of them we'll use our tangent. Obviously, if we have an O and an H, we'll use sine. If we have an A and an H, we'll use our cosine. So let's take a look at another one here. Let's say that we have, again, a right triangle shown like this. Let's say that this is a 70-degree angle. And we're given that this side here is 8, and we want to find out what x is. Same thing we did before. I'm going to look to my SOHCAHTOA. In order to find this missing value of x, that's our first step. Second step is to identify the angle that we know, which is the 70-degree angle. Next is to identify the side that we know. Now this one, similar to like we did on our last one, it's also the adjacent side. It's right next to this angle that we know. So I'm going to put an A there. Next, what are we looking for? We want to find this length here. You'll see that this one is directly across from the right angle. It's not an O, opposite like we did in the previous example. This one is our hypotenuse. Next, we'll go back to what we did before, and that is look at our SOHCAHTOA and choose the correct one. In this case, we're going to use cosine. We have an A and an H. So we'll write our trig ratio, cosine of 70 equals the adjacent 8 divided by x, the hypotenuse. Write this as a ratio, which again will require us to cross multiply and divide. This time we have x times the cosine of 70 equals 8 times 1, or 8. So to solve this one, what we're going to need to do is divide both sides by this cosine of 70. That means x will equal 8 divided by the cosine of 70. So let's do that on our calculator and see what we get. So again, we'll put in 8, but this time we'll divide by cosine of our 70-degree angle. Press enter, and that gives us a length of x equals 23.390432. And of course, those decimals are meaningless to us except for the one we're going to be rounding to and the next one over. If we're asked to round to the 10th, it's the 3 is in the 10th spot. So we look at the next number over, the 9, which tells us this time x is going to equal 23 we'll round this up to 4. So those are some quick examples. One using tangent, one using cosine, one where when we do our cross products, we end up multiplying the trig ratio times a number. And one, when we do our cross products, the result ends up being a number divided by our trig ratio. I would strongly urge you to follow this procedure, even taking out some scrap paper, drawing your triangle so that you can see which one is opposite, which one's adjacent, and which one's the hypotenuse. And like I've shown in class, only label the one that you know and the one that you need to know. Hopefully that's helpful to you. Enjoy the rest of your time working on this assignment, and have a good day.